Mrs. Swanson here with today's lesson on one-step equations. Today's focus will be one-step equations with adding and subtracting only. Multiply and divide will be coming soon. In the previous video, we talked about algebraic expressions that looked something like this. The main difference between an expression and an equation is the equal sign. You'll have an equal sign and then some number over here. The goal for solving an equation is to get the variable by itself. Let me say that again. Our goal is to get that variable alone. That means you'll end up with an answer, your variable on one side, I prefer the left side always, equals and some number over here. So let's try this one out. Let's think of equations as a teeter-totter. Here's my example down here. We always want to keep them balanced or equal. The fulcrum of our teeter-totter, or this point right here, is represented by the equal sign in an equation. So here we know our goal is to get our variable a by itself. That means I need to get rid of this 2 somehow. You need to think, how can I get rid of a positive 2? Well, what's the opposite of adding? Subtracting. But subtract what? 2 minus what will give me 0? We know that that answer is 2. So I subtract 2, these cancel out, I have a equals 20, and voila, magic. No, not magic. Let's back up a second. If I only subtract 2 from one side, that leaves my teeter-totter unbalanced, and that's not good. So we have to subtract 2 to both sides to keep our balanced teeter-totter. So when I take away 2 down here, I'm left with a, but to keep it balanced, I have to take away 2 from my 20, and I get 18. Now we're still balanced, and we've met our goal of having the variable by itself. So our answer for this problem is that a equals 18. Now the awesome thing about algebra is you can always check your own work. Let me show you how this happens. I'm going to plug my answer back into my original problem to see if it makes sense. So when I replace a with 18, I ask myself, does 18 plus 2 equal 20? And the answer is yes. You've checked your work and done an awesome job. Let's try a subtraction problem. D minus 4 equals 12. If you want to draw out the teeter-totter, if that helps you, that works. Maybe a simpler way is just to kind of draw your line right here and know that whatever you do on this side, you have to also do on this side. So I know my goal is to get my variable by itself down here. So what do I have to get rid of? This minus 4. You need to think the opposite of subtracting is adding, and I keep that very same number. I do that because I want this to cancel out for my variable to go away. Sorry, for my variable to be by itself, I need the 4's to go away. So add 4 on that side. I need to do the same thing over here, and I get 12 plus 4 to be 16. Let's check our work. 16 minus 4 does equal 12. It checks. Try these problems on your own. Press play when you're ready to check your work. Let's look at our first problem. I'm going to draw my line here. I know I need W to be by itself, so I'm going to add, since we are subtracting, add 10 to both sides and get 25. When I check, 25 minus 10 equals 15. Yep, it checks. Over here, don't get confused with the negative. You're still just doing the opposite, which is subtract, because we had an add. So we're subtracting a negative 5 from both sides. Same thing. Okay, I know I want P by itself down here. And if you need to review your rules for adding and subtracting positive, negative numbers, there's a video for that as well. I know with subtraction, I'm going to keep my first number, flip the sign, and change my second number. So I have 12 plus 5 equals 17. It's a good idea to check, especially when you're working with positive and negatives. So if I have 17 plus a negative 5, My answer will be 12. Let's go over some key steps from the lesson. Our goal is to get the variable alone. Remember, a variable is the letter like A, X, M, L, whatever you want it to be. Form the opposite operation with the same numbers. So if you're originally adding, you're going to subtract. If you're subtracting, you're going to add to get rid of that number and get your variable alone. Remember, we want to keep that teeter-totter balance. Whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. That's all for this lesson. Thanks for studying with Swanson.